Today is the 29th Sunday of the year. Our gospel is taken from Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. Jesus tells a parable of a woman who wears an unjust judge down in order to get her justice. He compares that to prayer, basically saying to the disciples, if it takes such persistence that you've got to wear God down, do it. Now, Jesus uses a phrase in there that could easily be overlooked. I'd like to reflect on that phrase. Jesus says, don't lose heart. The phrase evokes one of the most oft-repeated, or the most oft-repeated sentiment of the Bible. Don't be afraid. In 1945, the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Carousel came to Broadway. It contained a song which has become very popular and has been performed by many artists since. You will never walk alone. We all like to hear that. Jerry and the Pacemakers, a Liverpool pop group in 1964, did a wonderful version of that. And it can be seen on YouTube, and I encourage you to have a look at it. It's only about 2.5 minutes. But the music contains the faces, or is accompanied by the faces of the people of Liverpool. Faces that show world weariness, pain, but a determination not to lose heart. It's worth seeing. In the 1950s, there was a psychiatrist, a pediatrician in England called Donald Winnicott. In his experience, he'd noticed what he thought was too many mothers were feeling guilty and inadequate and dissatisfied with their attempts at being parents. He coined the phrase, good enough parent. It's not a phrase of despair. It's a phrase of hope. Basically saying to these women, look, find in yourself the innate capacity that you have to be a good enough mother and live with that. We all get pushed to the edge from time to time. We all need to hear this encouragement not to lose heart. Husbands and wives, children and their parents, parents and their children, friends with each other, colleagues. We can all drive each other to the edge. And we can also all encourage each other with those words. Now, in the Gospel of Luke today, we find Jesus coming to the end of his journey. It began in chapter 9, verse 51 of Luke. Jesus set his face towards Jerusalem. They are now at Jerusalem. It's reasonable to assume that the disciples have had a growing sense of concern, maybe worry, maybe fear, as they've approached Jerusalem. There's a sense of the ominous in the air. They need encouragement. They need to hear Jesus say, don't lose heart. I'd also raise the question, does Jesus need to hear that? Is Jesus concerned, worried, fearful? In a few chapters further on, Luke describes Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane sweating blood. That is a sign of terror. What is being revealed here slowly, and nobody actually realizes the extent of it until after the event. But what is being revealed is God's love. The infinite, incomprehensible, confronting love of God, which is most evident in Jesus' passion and death. This love, at that instance, before the resurrection, looks more like the triumph of evil over love, more like the triumph of despair over hope. One theologian by the name of Alan Lewis, a young man, brilliant theologian, who died at a very early age, tragically, talks about the God-forsakenness of God, the dereliction of God. This is not just about the carpenter from Nazareth hanging on the cross or going to his death. This is about the identity of God, what God actually is, what God's love actually is. It's beyond our imagination, beyond our minds, our imaginations, to even begin to cope with it. Alan Lewis goes on to say, the God-forsakenness of God is acted out objectively on Calvary. An awesome, mind-transforming revelation of what and who God is. Exposure to opposition, exclusion, termination belongs to God's very identity. This is the one enfleshed in Jesus of Nazareth who says, don't be afraid. Don't lose heart. Surely this one who is willing to descend into hell for us can be trusted. Don't lose heart.